It's known that Hila Parcher quotes a Beditchev Rebbe, I believe it's a Beditchev, who says that this Shabbos, Hashem shows every single Jew. What? Okay. Hashem shows every single Jew.
Recording.
Yeah. Hashem shows every single Jew the third Bais Hamikdash. And that's the meaning of the word Shabbos Chazon. Shabbos Chazon means the Shabbos of vision. The Shabbos Hashem shows each of us the third Bais Hamikdash. So the simple meaning of Chazon is that we read the Haftarah about the destruction of the Bais Hamikdash. We read the vision of Yeshaya. That's why it's called Chazon. And on a year like this, when Tisha B'Av is on Shabbos, the vision of Yeshaya, which is apropos to Tisha B'Av, which is at the destruction of the Bais Hamikdash, is more pronounced, because since this Shabbos it's on Tisha B'Av, so there's even some halachas that we do the Shabbos privately, halachas in morning that we cannot do, that we aren't obligated to do on regular Shabbos and privately. Even privately, there are You did it. Welcome.
Good morning.
All right. So the fact that there are some things that we're forbidden to do this Shabbos indicates that that the closer we get to Tisha B'Av, there is more. The more we feel the destruction of the Bais Hamikdash, and therefore even on Shabbos, we're externally supposed to show more joy. There's still some things that we don't do the Shabbos. Private things we learned this week about washing your hands with hot water. So therefore, the vision of the destruction of the Bais Hamikdash is more relevant, because it's about the idea that Beis Hamikdash is destroyed in Tisha B'Av is something that's felt this Shabbos, because Yeshaya's vision is on the day of the destruction. On the other hand, conversely, the inner meaning of Shabbos Chazon, which is that Hashem shows every single Jew the third Bais Hamikdash, that is also more pronounced this Shabbos. Since this Shabbos itself is a day of Tisha B'Av, so the idea of the vision that Hashem shows every Jew, as the Rebbe says, it's called the Shabbos of vision because Hashem shows us this Bais Hamikdash. It's the third Bais Hamikdash. It's something which is more palpable, more tangible, more vivid, more impactful. This vision, the third Bais Hamikdash, is not just to tzaddikim, even though not everyone necessarily feels they see the third Bais Hamikdash. However, the idea of seeing the third Bais Hamikdash is similar to what the Torah says about Daniel. Daniel says that he had a vision, and the people who were with him were very frightened. The Gemara asks, he had the vision, so why were they frightened? The Gemara answers, although they didn't see the vision that he did, but they saw their mazel saw. And so too, the neshama of every Jew has a vivid perception of the third Bais Hamikdash, and the something which is not just in the neshama, but something that affects the animal soul and the body as well. It's a vision in a way that is impactful, and it's meant to prepare us for the Geula. As the parable the B'ditchev Rebbe says, there was a father who had a son, and he bought his son a suit, and the son couldn't take care of the suit. So the father bought his son a second suit, and he ruined the second suit too. So the father bought his son a third suit, and the third suit, instead of giving it to his son, the father put the suit away, and he showed the son the suit from time to time, hoping that his son would know how to take care of it, and behaving properly in wearing the suit and take care of it would become his son's nature. That's the parable, and the analog is pretty clear. The Eibusher gave us the first and second Bais Hamikdash, which were destroyed because of our mistakes, and the third Bais Hamikdash, he shows it to us this Shabbos. So that's the parable of the B'ditchev Rebbe. Questions like this: every parable which is given by the Torah is a parable of truth. The Torah says that the Torah is a Torah of truth, then the parable must also be true. So what's the reason that the B'ditchev Rebbe chooses a parable of a father buying a suit for his son? The simple parable that would fit very, very well with the analog would be a father buys his house, a son a house. Buys a son one house, buys a son a second house. The unique characteristic of the Beis Hamikdash is that it is a permanent home for Hashem. It's God's home. On the other hand, a garment is something you wear and you get rid of, and you switch. It gets ruined. Garments are limited. That's why there's an expression in Yiddish when someone buys a pair of shoes, you say, "Tzedais gesundheit." You should ruin them in good health. Because who doesn't ruin their shoes? Someone who doesn't use them anymore. So
that was a blessing when you got a new Ferrari.
So the main point of this parable is that the third Beis Hamikdash should last forever, and the idea of a garment, which is a temporary thing, seems to be incongruous to the analog where we want to go with the parable. We want to point out that the Father will buy, that Hashem will get us the third Beis Hamikdash, which will last forever, and therefore the question is, why is it important for Ditch Rebbe to give this parable, which is veers away from the analog, and talk about a garment instead of talking about getting a son a home? So the answer is like this. One of the fundamental differences between a home and a garment is that a garment is made to the size of the person wearing the garment. The person is measured and length and width to see if this garment fits, and according to the person's size, that's how the garment is made. However, like we find the halacha of a kohen, that a kohen has to wear certain garments, and the garments have to be according to the size of the kohen, and not only then, when they're the size of the kohen, not longer, not shorter, then they're considered something which beautifies the kohen and beautifies the service of the Beis Hamikdash. If it's not made to the right size, it's not considered something which beautifies and adorns the person. And a house, on the other hand, is a lot bigger than the person who's in the house. As halacha is that at what point is a house need a mezuzah? House needs a mezuzah if the house is 4 amos by 4 amos, which is about 6 feet by 6 feet. So 6 feet by 6 feet is a lot bigger than a human being. As the Gemara discusses the size of a mikveh. A mikveh is meant to be the size of a man. The minimum size of a mikveh is the size of a man. And a mikveh has to be 1 amma by 1 amma, a lot smaller than a home. So while a suit, a garment is made to the size of the person, the home isn't. The home is bigger than the person. Another difference is what the garment or what the home tells you about the wearer of the garment or the inhabitant of the home. When you go into a home, you could tell something about the owner of the home. You could tell a general perspective of the affluence of the person living in the home and other things, but you'd have no idea how tall or short the person may be. You only have a general picture of the person. You don't really know their size. However, when you see the garment of a person, you know exactly their size. A garment is made to fit the person wearing the garment. And so from a house, you can't tell too much about the liver, the one who lives in the home, but through a garment you could tell a lot about the size of the person wearing the garment. So that's why the parable of the B'dishva Rebbe is about a garment, not about a home, because the Beis Hamikdash wasn't just a house for God. It wasn't just a general house for God. The different parts of the Beis Hamikdash were parallel to different kinds of holiness. It was made to scale. There was a certain kind of kedusha in each part of the Beis Hamikdash. Each section of the Beis Hamikdash was attuned exactly to what spiritual energy was in that section of the Beis Hamikdash. That's why it says in general, the Bais Bezalel was on a mountain, and the higher you went, the holier it was. And that's why there were laws about who could be there. There are some places that Jews could enter, all Jews could enter. Some places that only the men could enter, and some places only the Kohanim could enter. Some places only the Kohen Gadol could enter. So depending on the level of sanctity of the place, that was the that's where that place was. Each place was classified based upon the holiness that was in that place. So that's what the Gemara means when it says the Bais Hamikdash in this world was built to be corresponding to the Bais Hamikdash in heaven. What that means is that every single part of the Bais Hamikdash, each section expressed something of the Bais Hamikdash in heaven. So, and the differences again of the place of the Bais Hamikdash affected the differences in who could be in that place. So that's why the parable that he chooses to give is a parable of a garment, not the parable of a home, because this parable gives us this idea that each section of the Bais Hamikdash expresses a different kind of kedusha, much as a garment is a real expression of the one wearing the garment and tells us the size, etc. So to each part of the Bais Hamikdash, a different kind of kedusha was revealed in each section. So this is true, really, for every Bais Hamikdash, the first and second Bais Hamikdash as well. However, there's something unique in the third Bais Hamikdash. The first and second Bais Hamikdash were built by people, and the third Bais Hamikdash, it says, is called Binyanan D'Kudsha B'richu. It's going to be built by Hashem. There is a bit of an argument about this, what this means. But it says that we have a mitzvah to build the Bais Hamikdash, and Rebbe has many explanations about what part we'll do, what part Hashem will do. But whether we're involved in the construction or not, ultimately the Bais Hamikdash HaShlishi, the Bais Hamikdash, has an infinite, godly, divine quality in it. And one of the expressions of this is that while the first and second Bais Hamikdash also express Hashem's kedusha, but their first I don't know if this is a good example or not, but sorry for the crude example. Just was looking at this great smoothie, and there's the base, right? And there is the additional things you put into the base thing. So the base of the first and second Bais Hamikdash was built by man, and so its godly what it represents in its spiritual revelation was filtered through this physical home. So it wasn't a pure, clear revelation of godliness. It was built. It was a building built by people. It was built according to its spiritual counterpart, true, but it wasn't so obvious and clear looking at the first and second Bais Hamikdash. You couldn't say, oh, there's Atzilus, there's Bria, that's Ak over there. You saw there's a table, there's a menorah. You sensed the kedusha of Hashem. Yes, you saw miracles there. Yes, but it wasn't that. It was obvious and clear how each section of the Bais Hamikdash expressed a different kind of holiness. It wasn't that way. You wasn't like you walk now. Let me walk into that Tzilas room. You didn't feel that way.
So thinking of the third Bais Hamikdash would be in the same exact position as the first two.
There is a lot of differences between the first two and the third, but it's going to be in the Temple Mount. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be on the Temple Mount. It's got to be on the foundation that was originally laid.
Yeah. So the third Bais Hamikdash, which will be built by Hashem's hand, every single section of the third Bais Hamikdash is in sync and will express in an open and clear way its godly energy. Now, the Bais Hamikdash is not just one place where God's holiness, where God's Shekhinah rests, but as the Gemara says, the Bais Hamikdash is a place where from there the light of Hashem shines to the rest of the world. It's not just that Hashem's Shekhinah is in that place and everyone knows you can go to the Bais Hamikdash to experience the Kedusha of Hashem, but there's something from the Bais Hamikdash that is emitted and revealed to the rest of the world. It's like the brain, that the brain affects the rest of the body. There's a place where the brain is revealed in the mind. The mind is revealed in the brain, and then there is a way the mind affects other limbs of the body. So to the Bais Hamikdash is the epicenter of the revelation of Hashem, but from there it extends and it spreads to the rest of the world. So since the third Beis Hamikdash will express in each part of it its kind of kedusha that it has in that specific space, that will also affect the reality after the coming of Mashiach in the rest of the world as well. Rabbi Khan, whose yard site was just recently, I privileged to learn many classes from him. And one specific class he gave us on the first chapter, Shicha V'Emunah, and he said that in the first chapter, Shicha V'Emunah, the Alter asks an interesting question. He asks, it says in the Torah there are 10 utterances, and it says which things were made by those 10 utterances. And the Alter asks in the first chapter, what about everything else? What about all the creatures which aren't included in 10 utterances? The Alter answers, well, there are 22 letters of the alphabet in 10 utterances, and there are various gematrias and other ways of transposing the letters to create every creature in the world. That's what the Alter says over there. So the question, though, is, why is that important? Why in Tanya does Alter have to address this question? In other words, Tanya is not a book of philosophy. That's just like a major fundamental question. Did God make everything in the world? How come there are only 10 utterances? Why is that a question that's relevant at Tanya? And the answer he gave, which I found correctly wasn't his own answer, the answer from the Rebbe, is that the connection that each creature has with godliness is not only a generic connection. We're all made by God, but each creature has its own unique bond with God. Each creature's character and shape and reality is a godly reality. It's not just I am created by God and now I'm something else that God made, but my own reality is the word of Hashem that made me, because I am my distinct and unique godly energy. You hear the difference? Not just I'm made by the Eibishter, but that my creation, I am godly. My reality is godly, because the word of Hashem that made me is different than the word of Hashem made you. So if we were to be tzaddikim, it wouldn't just be that we see godliness everywhere. It would be that I would see the word al dal mem, and you would see the word mem shin hey. You'd see godly energy in each person. So that's a product of what happens in the Bais Hamikdash. Because the Bais Hamikdash is a place where there's an expression of when Mashiach will come, only the third Bais Hamikdash, there's going to be an expression in each part of the Bais Hamikdash of its godly energy that will reflect also in the world. That when Mashiach will come, it's not just that Hashem is going to reveal to us how He made everything, and we'll feel Hashem's presence in everything. Rather, the words the Torah uses to describe the coming Mashiach is the glory of Hashem will be revealed, and all flesh will see ki pi havaya dibra, as the mouth of Hashem is speaking. How each creature, with its character, with its essence, with its personal limitations, what is its reality? What is it really? It's the word of Hashem. There are some tzaddikim who could do this already, right? Tzaddikim, I know someone, I won't go through the whole story right now, but I know a guy who told me the story himself. He was there. Beryl Witten said that he went with someone to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe looked at this person who looked healthy, and the Rebbe said to her name and her mother's name and refuah shlema out of the clear blue sky. She'll tell the Rebbe knew everything about her name, her mother's name, refuah shlema. So it says by the Mizitcha Magid also, the Rebbe quotes the story of the Mizitcha Magid, that the Magid was able to tell a certain thing was a certain craftsmanship. I don't know what it was. It was a table or whatever it was. The Magid could tell that this thing, who could tell who made it, he could tell the person who made it was blind in one eye. Why could he tell the person who made it was blind in one eye? Because he could see in this thing the godly energy in it. He could tell everything about this thing. So Mashiach will come. It's not just we're going to see the Eibishter making the world. We're going to see an expression of each creature and how it has a different, unique godly energy. So that's the reason why the B'ditcher Rebbe emphasizes in the parable that the father shows his son a suit. Why is it pertinent to us to know that the Beis Hamikdash is compared to a suit, specifically in regards to the purpose of the father showing his son the Bais Hamikdash, that his son should learn how to behave. The point is that we should continue to behave and deserve to have an everlasting redemption in the third Bais Hamikdash. Wouldn't it be better to point out that the Bais Hamikdash will last forever? Wouldn't an example of a house be a better example if the point is that we should maintain behavior that deserves and is in sync with the future of the coming of Mashiach? Why does the B'ditchev Rebbe insist on giving the parable of a garment if the point of the parable is to inspire our behavior? We explained so far in the Shicha that the Bais Hamikdash, yes, it has a comparison to a garment because each part of the garment expresses something about the wearer of the garment. So to the Bais Hamikdash, each part of the Bais Hamikdash expresses something about the Bais Hamikdash, about the kedusha in the Bais Hamikdash. Okay, but the point of the Hashem showing us the Bais Hamikdash is not so that we should learn about the Bais Hamikdash. Rather, it's so that we should deserve to get the third suit. It's so that we should be able to merit the coming of Mashiach. And if the point of this showing the us the Bais Hamikdash is that we should have a permanent change, so why not talk about something which is permanent? Why not talk about a house? The answer is like this. We were learning this week Mikneh Rav, which talks about iskafia, about pushing yourself on the side, doing what Hashem wants, and being like a servant of Hashem. One of the things the Gemara says about a servant is a bit of Kedel, and Rebbe quotes the Maimer. He wants to be free. The fact that he does, wow, Shalom Aleichem. The fact that a servant does what his master tells him to do is against his will. He's forcing himself to do something which his master is telling him to do against his will. And even if he makes some kind of change in his character, it's still with limitation. There is in Hasidic lexicon, there's something called changing teva midos, of the nature of your character. There's something called changing your natural character, and there's a higher level called that's unique to Hasidus, changing the nature of your character. What's the difference? A person is a very excitable, very easily aroused person, full of love, let's say, and he uses all that excitable, positive energy to befriend the wrong kind of people and to be attracted to the wrong kind of things. And then he does tshuva, and now all of a sudden this guy is using all of his love and he's giving his love to the Eibishter. Okay, so what he's done is he's changed his natural character, but he hasn't changed the nature of his character. He still has the same character. Before he was befriending every person he shouldn't befriend, and now he's befriending he's befriending the Eibishter. His limitation to how much he's doing. He's only doing things which fit to his character. The B'ditchev Rebbe says, why does Hashem so show us the third Bais Hamikdash Shabbos? He says, B'ditchev Rebbe, Hashem wants that our service of Hashem should be our nature. It's not just we should do it, not just we should hard knuckle and force ourselves to say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmei and whatever, but this should be our nature. That means that not only that we're serving Hashem according to our limitation, according to what we're used to, and we're pushing ourselves, and we're transferring our natural character into a more religious setting and a more godly setting, but the idea of this Shabbos is meant to be something completely different. The idea of the Shabbos is the third Bais Hamikdash. What's the ego of the third Bais Hamikdash? It's built by Hashem. That means that every part of it is an expression of godliness. Looking at the third Bais Hamikdash, looking at different parts of the third Bais Hamikdash, each part of it is an expression of Hashem in different ways. The table expresses one thing, the mirror expresses something else. So showing us the third Bais Hamikdash is meant to tell us something about ourselves. That Hashem built each of us to be a Bais Hamikdash. That our persona, the way Hashem built us, is meant that every part of us should be is to express Hashem's truth. In other words, it's not that, okay, I have an arm, and the reason I have an arm is to put on tefillin. It's the opposite. Because there's a mitzvah tefillin, therefore Hashem gave me an arm. The reason why Hashem gave me whatever He gave me, it's meant to be a garment to express Hashem's truth. That's why the Shuvah gives the example of a garment, not the example of a home, because he wants to tell us that every single facet of who you are, it's not that you should hard knuckle it and force yourself and do what Hashem wants you to do. You should know that you are godly, and you're everything about you, all your circumstances in your life are about Hashem's purpose. Hashem created you. And so by seeing the third base of English, seeing a place where every part expresses Hashem's truth in a different, unique way, that's meant to change our, not just that we should show up to what Hashem wants us to do, but to change our very essence and core so that we should feel that our whole existence is an expression of Hashem's truth. And automatically, not just that we show up and we do certain things Hashem tells us to do and we just transfer things which we're comfortable with and our character towards Hashem, but that we're able to actually change the nature of our character and to be what Hashem wants us to be, based upon how Hashem made us. So that there's no limitation of I have to be this way, I can't be that way. No, Hashem built you to be a garment that fits spirituality, and therefore it's possible for you not just to show up, but to identify with your spiritual core in every part of your life. And this vision empowers us that after the Shabbos, Chashem Mashiach isn't here, that we're living a Geula life. We're living a life of Mashiach, life of Geula, and this is the way to merit. Take mamish that the third base of English Taka, which was shown to us from a distance on Shabbos, should be shown to us from a distance, but should come down by Gashmias, Lamatam, our Tvachim, to our physical eyes, the Goldi Dam Mamish. L'chaim. Any questions, comments, criticism?
I always thought that was a kind of a simple
analogy.
It's not by far.
No, you can write a book about this analogy. This is just one talk about it.
Yeah. Very good.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.